What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Gruesome Garage. Long time no see. As you can see, today I'm working on this Nissan, but don't worry guys, this is not what the video is going to be about. We've been doing a lot of projects like this, just installs like brake jobs and boring stuff, so we haven't been filming much, and we've been enjoying the summer. So we're getting back into it. It's getting cold and it's time to figure out what's really wrong with the Jeep. My Jeep, the LS XJ. Last time you guys saw at the Smash-a-thon, we were having fun breaking parts on it, but I was still having overheating issues. And we're gonna show you a little video real fast of me throwing in new axle shafts on this thing. So obviously the first thing that we're gonna do, jack it up and put the axle on an angle so we don't lose too much gear oil, because this is a full float 60. And I don't even have to take the wheel off. That's the awesome part about it. Unlike this garbage like over here that I'm dealing with our plow Jeep, where you got to take everything off to deal with the bearings. Yay. But that doesn't matter right now. What matters is seeing the destruction. See how much comes out. Oh, this one broke clean off. That's incredible. Now we just gotta find the other parts. As you can see, here is my scientific method of getting the axle shaft out. There's probably 100 different ways to do this, but it seems like this and some welding wire to be able to pull it out is the best. So luckily this one was pretty darn clean, and hopefully there's not some guts in here. So let's see if we can find any parts and pieces laying around. See if we get anything. Go fishing and we get anything. Huh. Couple pieces, no big deal. We're gonna have to clean it out obviously, but I think there's a little chunk in there. Fishing for axle shafts. Do we have anything? Yes we do. We have an axle shaft piece, or maybe two. Look at that. Now I'm gonna shine a flashlight in there, see if I can find anything else to dig out, and then I'm gonna go for the main course. No more of this appetizer stuff. So guys, I actually had to take off this side over here because I couldn't get with a magnet that piece of shaft that was stuck in there. So I took a long skinny rod, tap tap tap, and I pushed it through. So right now Matt has it at the end, ready to pull out. Look at that. Woo! I think those splines have seen better days. Thank you, Matt, yet again for extracting. Now I know these are 30 spline Dana 60 shafts, but I really think I'll be able to handle it with the chromos. But if not, I might have to go 35 spline, but we'll figure it out down the road. So if you guys see over here, here are our new beautiful chromos from Yukon. You can see these are just a little longer, so we're gonna have to cut them down. They are made to cut down, and I'm gonna show you how to make the splines nice and pretty so we can slide it right in there. The old one on the passenger side was 34 3/4 inches. As you can see down here, I duct taped it at 34 3/4. We're gonna take this beautiful angle grinder over here and we're gonna lop it off. Now that the cutter's job is all done, you can see that the piece is on the ground over here. It's hot, or I'd pick it up. And that is cut very so beautifully. I'm gonna put a bevel on it. It makes life so much easier to be able to slide this axle shaft in. You can leave it like this if you want, but let me tell you, it's a pain in the butt. Give it a little bevel and it will make your life so much easier. After it's all beautifully beveled up, we're gonna go for a test fitment, because obviously we don't want this thing pushing into the locker or something. So we're gonna make sure that this fits nicely how it should. Fits in there beautifully. Absolutely gorgeous. So now it's time for reassembly. I'm kind of bummed that Yukon didn't give me the stickers for there, or was it East Coast Gear Supply? I don't know, but I'm gonna call them and see if I can get some, because who doesn't want a grizzly on there. Now, major key to these things not leaking is a gasket. I have yet to see 60s with an actual gasket, but I found a gasket. And I believe that, you know, there should be a gasket on there. Everyone just smooths RTV. But I found this gasket, and we're gonna see how well it works. Hopefully it's reusable. Kind of looks reusable, but I just want to try it out. So we're gonna clean up the surface as much as possible of the grease, or the axle juice, and we will throw this on. Now that that's all back together and pretty, we can clean up the wheel. Give it a nice axle fluid waxing, and then we move on to the other side. Now the other side is so much easier. I didn't have to extract any guts or bits out of it. So I got this here. I got my shaft waiting over in there that I just cut. Oh, never mind. I left it in here. So I got the shaft here. I got it lined up with the holes for the bolts. So now I know where it is. I'm gonna throw this gasket on there, bolt it on, and we're gonna have full rear wheel drive again, not just one wheel drive. Now we're gonna get to the root of the problem, the overheating issues we've had. At first, when I got this thing together, it ran great, but obviously I didn't have any coolant situation. I ran it for a second. I'm a little concerned that I may have hurt the heads by running it without any coolant in it, but I really don't think that's the issue. But obviously we're gonna find out, because I've done everything else, and I think it's gonna come down to pulling the heads. But before we get into that, let's start from scratch. I got the thing back together, running, and it ran great, and it was time to do the cooling. So I got all the cooling situated. I bought a Novak radiator that is made specifically for an LS swap. It's much thicker than a Cherokee radiator, and the inlet and the outlet port are in the correct position instead of crisscross like a Cherokee. My main problem that I thought was that I wasn't filling it properly. If you can see, this is my fill point, and I was afraid that since the heads were a little higher than my fill point, I wasn't getting coolant to the heads. So I bought myself a vacuum bleeder. This thing goes right into here. You use air pressure, and it sucks all the air out of here, and it forces coolant where the air used to be. It worked great, and it filled up great. I even put a bleeder on my steam port to allow for air to get out, but I could get air to come out, and then water would come out just fine. So I really thought that the coolant was completely bled. It still kept on overheating, you know, no matter what. Even when I'm idling, or especially when I run it. When I run it more, you know, drive it around the block, it gets up to 230 immediately. When it's idling, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to get it to overheat. But no matter what, it overheats. So after I thought that that was my issue, I thought that maybe my cooling fans weren't coming on at the correct time. So I just jumped my cooling fans straight to the battery. So when I turned the key on, the cooling fans came on. It helped a little bit to keep it cooler, to drop the temperature, but honestly, it didn't help, period. You know, like, it was quicker, I mean, slower to heat up, but it's still, I would still go 240, 250 without even thinking about it. So after that, I had a couple more ideas. I did a compression test to see maybe, you know, I lost you know, compression somewhere, and there's a bad leak, and I did a leak down test. Both of them came back decent, and I really don't think that's the issue. The only thing is, when I did the leak down test, I didn't do it when the engine was at operating temperature. It's almost impossible for me to be able to pull the spark plugs out and put one of those testers in there without burning my hands or burning the device itself, melting the device to try to measure. So the only way for me to really do a leak down test is when the engine's cold. So to me, I really didn't properly do a leak down test, but I did drain the oil and the coolant, and neither of them had a milky mixture. There was no evidence of coolant in the oil or vice versa. So if there is a crack in the head or a problem with the head gasket, it's just exhaust gases. So at this point, I was kind of grasping at straws, because I was like, what the heck is going on? So, you know, I did a ton of research on the water pump, made sure that the water pump was spinning the right way. I asked some questions on some forums and stuff, And someone said that in their radiator, since the inlet and outlet are on the same side, there needs to be a divider in here so that the coolant can go properly through the radiator. And some of them, some guys have gotten these radiators without the divider in them. And this one, I took it apart and the divider's in there. So that's not the problem. So at this point, I was like, maybe it's the Holley computer, you know, because it really doesn't show signs of overheating. It's not like blowing coolant out anywhere or this or that. I just see it on the temperature gauge. So I said, let me just swap the gauge out. I had this gauge for a gauge pillar lying around. I bought a new thermostat sender for it and I ran it, and I'm getting the same reading as the other one, as the one on the computer. So to me, that's saying, you know, it's not lying, sadly. I wish it was, but it's not. So at this point, I really think that I have done everything in my power to really, before pulling apart the motor, to see if it's a head gasket issue. So at this point, I think we're gonna start pulling the heads and we're gonna take a look. I'm gonna have them sent out to my guy. He's gonna take a look at them because, you know, at the end of the day, this was a junkyard motor. It did come from my dad's van. He got into an accident with it. You know, it could have had an issue then. You know,
and it had 180.
It had 180,000 miles on it. You know, I really don't know. So I think the smartest thing to do next is to, you know, pull the heads. Do I want to? No, but I think it's the smartest thing to do. And worst comes to worst, time to upgrade the heads if they're cracked. You know, to get a little more breathability out of them. Get ready for a turbo. So guys, if you have any opinions or ideas on maybe what this could be, I would love to know in the comments. You know, I'd love to get some, you know, just shoot some information back and forth, and, you know, I can learn, you guys can learn together, and, you know, we can be at this together, because this is not the first time I've dealt with a cooling issue before, but it's the first time I've ever swapped an engine to another vehicle that it doesn't belong in, and, you know, had a custom radiator, all this custom crap. So maybe it's some stupid thing that I'm missing. Before we end this video though, we gotta tell you about a couple things that we got going on. They're a little bit of a secret, but I promise in the next few videos, you guys will understand. We not only, you know, have we been doing nothing since you saw the last video, we've been picking up vehicles here and there, and, you know, we've been enjoying our summer. But we picked up a toy, and we picked up 2 race cars. So in the next video, you tell us what you wanna see. You wanna see the toy or the 2 race cars? Tune in next time.